friends are heathens, take it slow.
What is going on, everyone? So I decided, rather than sitting around and doing nothing for another month, we're about at the end of June. I'm leaving for Miami in August, very early August, like the 4th or the 5th. But rather than sit around and do nothing for a month, which will quite literally drive me nuts, I have decided that I'm going to get a short-term job for literally a month so that I have something to do. And yeah, that's essentially the purpose. Unfortunately, while this worked for my last two jobs, it's not going to work for this one. So I have to cut it all off, and I'm about to go and do that right now. I don't know how well this is going to work because I don't have any electronic clippers to do that with. So I'm going to have to use a razor blade and try to cut all of this off, and hopefully I don't completely massacre my entire face. I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be alright, but I'm hoping that I don't completely massacre my face, and if I don't, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to reveal the new look. It is going to be very much so a temporary look, literally for 1 month, so that I can hold this job and have some additional income. The purpose of all of this is to not be living off of the money that I made from selling the house. That is supposed to support me while I'm in Japan. And in that endeavor, I'm going to go ahead and take on another job. It's a short job. It doesn't pay a whole lot. It pays plenty, considering that my monthly expenditures are now essentially my food, my gasoline for the car, and then car insurance and a cell phone bill. So, what, like $300 a month, $400 a month, depending on how much I spend on food. So it really wouldn't be too expensive, but in comparing the cost of leaving immediately and heading out to Colorado, which is where I'm going to be spending the rest of the year once I leave Miami. I'm going down to see my dad. He has no idea that I'm coming. He does not watch my YouTube channel, which shame on him, because he would know everything that's going on. But as it is, he knows nothing. Ha ha! Everybody else in the family knows. Everybody knows. My grandmother, my two uncles, they know. My dad's wife knows. My brother and sister know. My aunts, my uncles, they all know. My dad's parents know. My dad doesn't know. You know why? Because he is not with you guys. He's not watching my YouTube channel. So that is making me laugh on the inside a little bit. But kind of the objective is to go down there and without telling him anything at all, I've got to forge a itinerary, a flight itinerary for him to come and pick me up at the airport. Now, there is a little bit of a hidden joke with the whole airport thing. One year, my dad said, "Hey, Mick, can you please fly into Miami instead of flying into Fort Lauderdale? Usually it's not too much more expensive to do that." And I said, "Sure, Dad, no problem. I'll fly into Miami," so that he doesn't have to drive as far to pick me up from Fort Lauderdale, because keep in mind, I don't usually drive in Miami. Normally, when I go down there, I'm either driving one of their vehicles, and it's a very small distance. Like, there's a very select few locations that I am actually comfortable driving in Miami, because I just haven't done it. I haven't been, I've been there, but when I go there, it's always to see my family. So I've got no desire to go clubbing. I don't know where all the hot spots in Miami are. I don't care. I go to see my dad, my brother, my sister, my stepmom, the rest of my dad's family. They're all out there. But I don't know the city of Miami that well. And usually if we're going to go out, my dad or some other member of the family does all the driving, so I don't have to do it. And So it's going to be kind of fun for me. I'm not really nervous about it because I've driven in plenty of big cities, and I have driven Miami before. I just don't know my way around that well. And so kind of the objective is to forge an airline itinerary, tell him that I'm flying in on, I don't know, like the 10th or the 11th of August. And in all reality, I'll actually be there like the 6th or the 7th. And depending on when I leave, I really don't know when I'm going to leave yet. That is not so much set in stone. And sorry, holding the camera in one place for a little while. I don't have the monopod. I don't have the tripod. Like, they're here. I just am too lazy to go and get them. So, anyways, I'm going to forge an airline itinerary, telling him that I'm showing up on like the 10th, the 11th, somewhere around then. I'll actually be there several days beforehand. But going back to the airline story, that's right. My dad had told me to fly into Miami because driving to Fort Lauderdale was a lot further and it took longer to drive around, and I didn't care. So that year I bought my plane tickets to fly straight into Miami International instead of flying into Fort Lauderdale. And when my dad goes to pick me up from the airport, keep in mind, he had my flight itinerary. He knew when I was going to be landing, where I was going to be landing, and he confirmed the airport like the day before or 2 days before. He confirmed that I was going to be at Miami International. And I love my dad, but he drove to Fort Lauderdale anyways. And so, like, he calls me, I've already landed. I've already gone through baggage claim. I fly with a gun, so I do have to check my bag. I've already gone through baggage claim. I've got my bag and everything, and I'm outside waiting for him. And he calls me and he says, "Hey, man, I'm running a little bit behind." And I say, "Cool, Dad. No big deal." And, oops. And so my dad calls me. He's at the airport. "Hey, what is the post number that you're standing at?" Because Fort Lauderdale and Miami, they all have post numbers. It's usually like a letter number combination, or and off the top of my head, I can't remember. But I've been to so many airports, it doesn't really matter. It's like usually when somebody's coming to pick you up, they ask you specifically what you're standing near, or some kind of an identifying number or something like that. In Miami and in Fort Lauderdale, the posts are labeled in some format or another. And so he's asking me what post I'm standing near, and I tell him a post number, and he goes, "That doesn't make any sense. Fort Lauderdale's not labeled like that." And I went, "Dad?" He goes, "Yes." I said, "You told me to fly into Miami. I'm at Miami International, not Fort Lauderdale." And so it's kind of been a joke ever since, and I wasn't bothered by it. I was just happy that I was going to get to see my dad, so I really didn't care that it was going to take longer for him to actually come and pick me up from Miami International, because he had to leave Fort Lauderdale and drive all the way back to Miami International. He literally drove past the airport that I was at to go to the wrong airport. And the funny thing is that would have been, and this is not just him, it's literally every time that I fly. When I go to get picked up by family, they're always late. Nobody shows up on time. And it's kind of part of the workaholic attitude that runs in both sides of my family. I have an uncle who lost his leg. And that bastard would not stop working, literally to save his life. With only one leg, literally a battlefield amputation. It wasn't on a battlefield, but it was, what do they call it? I think it was I think they call it a battlefield amputation, but it's literally like they fresh cut the leg. Like they literally took a guillotine and chopped off his leg. All right, it was a straight chop. And I guess that was part of the procedure that they were doing for his leg. Whatever. Anyways, so it's basically this nub that hasn't even fully scabbed over yet. And he's climbing scaffolding in his garage. And you know what happens? Oh, by the way, he's a mechanic. He owns his own shop, and he would not stop going to work. But anyways, he falls off the scaffolding. What do you think he lands on? His good leg? No. He lands on the nub. Literally on the nub. And what part of the nub? The bone that is still sticking out of the nub. He lands on that, splits the bone all the way up to the knee, and cracks the whole damn thing. His leg is profusely bleeding. Does he call 911? No. Does he call my other uncle? No. Does he call his mother? No. Does he call a hospital? No. You know what he does? He grabs a trash bag, and he pulls it up around his nub, and then he duct tapes it shut around his leg, all right? He closes down his shop. He didn't waste any extra time, but he closes down his shop, gets into the car, drives past 2 hospitals to go home. Now, my grandmother and my uncle, they're both obviously disabled, so they live together so that they can take care of each other. So he drives past 2 hospitals to go home. And my grandmother, he comes in, he's literally leaking blood out of this trash bag. And my grandmother then has to take him to the hospital, which is, it's kind of funny. How do you drive past 2 hospitals? Anyways, how do you drive past 2 hospitals to drive all the way home, only so you can drive back to one of those 2 hospitals? But that, like, we're literally workaholics in that sense. Like, it doesn't matter. We're workaholics, so we're always running to the last minute, handling different details, different things, working always to the last minute, which is part of the reason why I'm going to be dying if I sit around and do nothing for an entire month. So when it comes time to go and pick up somebody, it's like, it's not that the family isn't that important, but we're busy, and we've set aside this time, and we set objectives for ourselves, and okay, at this time I'm going to stop working, but we get to that time, and it's like, only 5 minutes more, and I can complete my task, so we go that extra 5 minutes. And that ends up snowballing, like it always does, and we end up being late. And that's just the way my family works. We're workaholics, both sides. It's a trait that I'm quite happy to actually have, so that's awesome. But anyways, so it would have been the first time that he literally made it to the airport on time to pick me up, and he drove, instead of going to Miami, he went all the way to Fort Lauderdale, so sad day, missed opportunity. But anyways, my objective is I'm going to show up at his work, and his coworkers, like, he's a service manager. He's over a couple of shops, but he works out of obviously one office, so which is in one of the shops. And I'm going to show up at the shop, ask to see him by his name, not by saying, "Hey, can I see my dad?" I'm going to show up at his office and ask them to take me to his office, and then I'm going to walk in and say, "Hey, Dad, let's go get lunch." And I'm quite sure I'm going to be told, "Hey, I can't go to lunch right now." I'm actually fully expecting that, but I want to surprise him. The rest of the family already knows that I'm coming, so I'll be able to arrange the intricate details of making sure that I can actually get into the house when I need to get into the house. Or, you know what, I'll go and drive around and piddle around and do weird, strange stuff in Miami, because why the hell not? So, that said, that is the objective. Anyways, the point of this video is I'm shaving this off. So I will see you guys. I'm also going to take a shower, so it's not going to be in a few minutes. But to you guys, it'll be like that. What is going on, YouTube? So this is what I look like now. It's gone. It's all gone. AC. That was the point of that. I needed to turn AC on because it is very hot in this car. Anyways, so I have had to shave my face, and I am out in the car doing the creepy "I'm going to talk to myself" thing, because the friend of mine who has generously allowed me to stay at his house for a month before I go down to Miami is going to bed. It is, he works night shift like I used to, and it is his time to go to sleep, so rather than try to film in the living room, which is where I have been filming, I am out in the car today, so, but I am clean shaven now, and I look weird. A good friend of mine has just told me that I look like I am what I eat, and if you can't figure out that reference, then shame on you, but it's all gone. It's weird. I wasn't too attached to it, but it was attached to me, and so, like, having it gone now is very strange. I won't say that I like it gone. I won't say that I like it there. It's just different. It's different. I think I probably will go back when this temporary job ends. I probably will go back to the same kind of style that I had before.
beard, formed goatee, or whatever you want to call it. But as it is right now, I do have to have a clean-shaven face for the next month. So, is what it is. Gonna do what I can with it. I start my new job tomorrow, so it kind of had to happen. I went ahead and cut it yesterday. I filmed the prequel to... I filmed the first part of this. This is the second half, and it is obviously a day later. My shadow is already coming back in areas. I'm very itchy, so if I have like scratch marks on the bottom of my chin, or if you see me scratching, excuse me, I'm sorry. It is what it is. That said, I'm excited about getting back to work because there has been a lot of not really too much going on. Some minor things that had to be taken care of on this car. The clutch got replaced, and oh my gosh, the new clutch on this car. It's not even so much the clutch, it's the flywheel. I did a new clutch, new pressure plate, new flywheel, throw-out bearing, pilot bearing, all of that. And I took the old flywheel, which was about 18.6 pounds, and I put a new flywheel on, which is about 8.6 pounds on. And I wasn't really expecting that big of a difference. I knew that there would be a difference. I mathematically, with the overpressured pressure plate, the Stage 1 racing clutch, which I'm not doing any racing, but I wanted a clutch that had a little bit more performance, a little bit more grab ability. And so I went with a Stage 1 kit, mostly because of that pressure plate. In all honesty, I wanted the stronger pressure plate, and I certainly got that. This is a 20% stronger, 20% over OE pressure plate, so whatever the stock pressure plate grab pressure is, it's about 20% stronger than that. And that's all about better torque. When I release the clutch pedal, that pressure plate is going to clamp the clutch to the flywheel a whole lot faster, and that's going to encourage transfer of energy into the transmission a lot better. So that was the whole point of that. The clutch itself, the clutch disc itself, I'm not too super worried about, but that, you know, it's a Stage 1, and in the Stage 1 kit, the biggest upgrade that you get is the pressure plate. I'm sure the clutch has a little bit of a different fabric or material in it, and that is what it is, but the biggest game changer of all was that flywheel. I was not expecting such a noticeable difference. The takeoff on this flywheel is so light, it's like I'm having to relearn this clutch pedal entirely. I'm constantly worried that I'm going to over-rev the engine because the takeoff is so much easier in the car with the lighter flywheel, and I was not expecting that big of a difference. I know what the math says, but the math says one thing, it doesn't really explain to you how the experience is going to change. It just says, it's just math, it's just numbers. And I certainly went through the math and I looked at it and I said, cool, this should help my takeoff. And it most certainly did. The higher pressure plate and the lightweight flywheel definitely are supposed to help your takeoff and your torque. But your takeoff is the biggest thing that you're supposed to notice when you change out, or when you go to a higher pressured pressure plate and a lightweight flywheel. I just was not expecting as big of a change that I noticed. And the easiest way for me to explain that is it feels like the car got its weight cut in half. It feels like the car is lighter now. Obviously, the car's weight overall has not changed except by about 10 pounds because I took an 18.6 pound flywheel out and I put in an 8.6 flywheel in. So the weight has changed, but only by 10 pounds. And the difference in performance that I have out of this car now is so much better. It's incomparable. It's just ridiculous. And I am flabbergasted by it. But that said, the new job is at a tire place, which is awesome. That's fantastic because this car needs new tires. In the garage right behind me, there are a set of 4 rims, and my dumb self popped 2 tires on the passenger side of the car in the same instance. It was literally a bad case of don't text and drive, and what did the big scary guy do? I was texting and driving. Shame on me, but I popped 2 tires on the driver's side. The tires are much bigger than what's currently on the car, so the speedometer is off. The ECU's calculation of my speed is off. It's a crazy thing right now, so I do need to get new tires on the alloy rims. That's the other thing. Those are alloy rims. They're lighter than the steel rims that are on the car. Another important thing that reduces the rolling mass of the vehicle. And they're also bigger, which does help. So new tires going on soon, which is going to be fantastic. They'll actually be the right size. The rubber that is on those rims is the wrong size. I'm putting the right size on the car, which is going to be fantastic. So I'm very much so looking forward to that. But I'm also a cheap bastard, and these tires are going to be a whole lot cheaper now because I'm working for a tire shop starting tomorrow. So really looking forward to that. What I'm not looking forward to is I have to go clothing shopping today, which I'm not doing now. I'm going to go ahead and get this video assembled and then throw it online, and then I will go clothing shopping, and I will probably come back and do another video and possibly throw that online too. I don't know what I'm doing. Things are going on today. That's the important thing. I do have to go, though. Lots of things to do today, and I do need to get to bed somewhat early because I have an early start tomorrow, and there's a guy in another vehicle looking at me. Why am I talking to myself? He literally was on the road. He came to a stop and was staring at me until I looked over at him, and then he decided to roll on. So I'm out of here. I will see you guys later, hopefully later on tonight. Hopefully this should be a 2 release day, but we'll see what happens. I will talk to you guys later. Have a nice one.